Hi, everybody. This is Bill back again for another edition of your Billboard Comics and our sub feature, Girlfriend's Guide to Comic Books. And here I'm going to talk about um, a might be a little of a public service announcement for you. I feel like I should be like dressed up like Flint at the end of the G.I. Joe comic book, G.I. Joe cartoon or something like this, or somebody from like Little House on the Prairie and the big things, the more you know coming out of there. Let me start off a scenario. Okay, this whole thing was about you finding stuff for your significant other, your the comic book collector in your life, to try to find out more about comic books to help you participate in conversation with them, but also to buy them comic books or gifts or whatever. So you're more an informed peruser of the comic books, along with your significant other, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your son and daughter, your father, mother, friend, neighbor, arch nemesis, whatever. Um, but as a way to get stuff there, like one of the reasons why getting this is like so you're more informed about getting like your gifts for your significant other who likes comic books. And let's just scenario you're looking through all over. You took all my stuff there about condition and stuff like that, and where to find them, where to look for them. Looking online to find for comic books for your friend or loved one, and you're looking for a particular issue, and you see something online, say from this cute place called Pirate Bay or LimeWire, or you know Jack's House of Free Internet Comic Books or something like this. And you click through and you see they have a whole bunch of comic books on there. Every comic book you could ever imagine, from the very first one ever made all the way to one that just came off the presses last week. You download them and it costs you nothing. You just go there and download them and put them to torrents, and click the link and let it go overnight. And when you wake up in the morning, you'll have a brand new spanking comic book, digital version of a comic book for you to actually have to hold and love. Um, and you say, well, this is perfect. I mean, this is ideal format. I mean, like, why doesn't everybody do this? Well, a lot of people do. Um, and let me just say there, this is what we call, Susie, piracy. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get into the whole after school special kind of mode about that. Well, Bobby, this is called ripping off creative professionals against their wills. Um, Piracy has been a big part of the comic book world for at least the last 20 years, ever since like computers have become more prevalent and scanning technology has increased, and all this kind of stuff could happen. And it is a way to um, like it's still out there. I believe I have I imagine there's still people out there who are actually you know downloading their comic books for free on the internet on some kind of dark site that nobody really knows about, that stays up for 2 weeks before the feds come and close it down and moves on to another domain name and starts up again. Um, some people might have different varying kind of um, uh, like attitudes toward this about the morality of it. I'm going to go into a little bit about um, trying like trying to go down the middle with this and try to give you looks on both sides. Um, you know, which probably mostly end up me being uh, coming up with ideas of like what to tell people who actually are for it, why they're wrong. But nonetheless, this basically goes on. You know, people consider like comic book piracy basically a victimless game. Um, you know, they are causing the big corporations to pay and not the little guy, not the people who are making it. And that that doesn't actually work out whatsoever. Um, yeah, it's not quite the same thing as like the like music industry, like where the recording artist gets like a nickel for every CD they sell, and you're only costing them a nickel, and you're really costing like Warner Brothers or UMG or whoever's still around is like puts out music, the hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars and stuff like that. Um, a lot of times, like the comic book creators get paid by how many comic books they actually sell. So if you don't actually buy a physical comic book in the comic book or through a legitimate digital outlet, which I will go into a little bit later now, um, it is you're costing them potential money out of their pocket. And as we all know, that it's the the comic book creators are not exactly rife with like caviar eating money. They're not smoking cigars on a yacht outside off the coast of Saint Tropez, and they're not uh, buying baseballs from being held out of the park by Mark McGuire. At least not anymore. It's most of the creators are working from paycheck to paycheck. Um, they don't usually have much on the line of any kind of emergency fund. Um, no really like 401k, no retirement fund, and probably a little along the line of insurance. Um, Take a look every so often. There's a GoFundMe about these people who like need help just when a disaster hits, like a hurricane or tornado hits their town, or even worse, like something grievous health injury, like puts them out of commission. Most recent is a video I put up here a couple weeks ago about Peter David, who is leaning on his fans to help him dealing with a long and debilitating disease that he is not financially prepared for. Um, so yeah, in some cases you might be taking money out of a person's like pocket. Um, Another thing, these are copyrighted images. These are copyrighted materials, and there are legitimate ways you could actually go and download comic books for free on the internet that are for free. That like there's a whole bunch of Golden Age comic books that are in the public domain. Like I know there's I will put them in. Like you go onto the Internet Archive and find them there. There's online Golden Age comic book database. There's like a whole bunch of other ones that you could look at that have a whole bunch of like scanned copies of comic books that are in the actual public domain that do not have copyright claims on it that you could download and that you could actually like keep and read to your heart's content. Um, uh, but most times it's kind of like you'll have people online saying like download now but buy it later. Um, this has to be the most self-aggrandizing kind of like hoofera that I've ever seen in my entire life. People who are going down are going to go out and like read the book and say, "Oh, well, this is great. I'm going to delete this perfectly fine digital copy that I could read on every single device that I have, from my cell phone to my iPad or whatever, and I'm just going to get rid of it because I don't get the highly disposable, uh, not as convenient paper version, just so I could be a good consumer." Yeah, that I maybe I'm just being overly cynical. I doubt that ever happens. Um, yes, the price of comic books are really expensive. Yes, some of the practices of people who make them, from the corporate level all the way down, are kind of unctuous, and you might not want to support them financially, and you think this is a good way to thumb your nose at them. Um, and it's not like I don't think that I've never really seen any really big arrests of people downloading bootleg versions of comic books. It doesn't mean you should do it. However, let me play devil's advocate on this. Um, there are a lot of these comic books that are no longer being printed. They're not longer in print. They never were like say just for off the top of my head, the uh, Banner's Galaxy miniseries. I talked about it before. Um, I think during my uh, like doing the whole my personal Golden Age series for my for two installments of that for my growing up comics issues. A pretty good series, ran for 6 issues in the early '80s. Was never got a trade paperback. Never deemed worthy enough to get that. Never got an omnibus. Never got any kind of collection as far as I could tell about, and it has been out of print since the 1980s. Same with my favorite comic book of all time, Amazing Man. And I'm sure I could give me enough time to go on and on about this. Um, I don't know if the Marvel um, No Price book has ever been reprinted in any form. Same with like certain other Marvel books, like the Outside, their kind of stuff like that. Um, a lot of stuff are out of print. It might be in print that people might want to know about from historical passport. And uh, the black market, the um, piracy market way to go might be the only way to get these comics without having to pay either a lot of money in back issues, which somebody who's defending this practice might say, if you buy a copy of like Captain Whatsit for $50 at a local convention, the creators and companies aren't getting any of that money, are they? No. Um, yeah, but if you don't go to your local Barnes and Noble and buy the same book in a trade paperback format just to read it, um, they're not getting, they get money from there. Uh, but I digress. But for stuff that's not in the thing, that's the only thing I could see as being a valid argument for going the piracy route about that. Trying to find if it's on like that, and like I know I'm probably gonna get comments about this, like, no, that's still wrong too. And yeah, piracy all together is wrong. But if you are desperate to find this like a like a book and you looked all over and you can't find it in the back issue bins of any comic book store you went to, they don't really put it on eBay, and it's not on like any convention you go to, and you're desperate to see it, and you might want to download just to read it. I could see that, like, being weak enough and trying to get that, because, like, if the companies have a problem with like somebody downloading a copy of Amazing Men #5, then you know what? Let's get that long-awaited like Amazing Men trade paperback or omnibus coming out there. Uh, that is demanded by a large audience. Um, Me, because I'm a really big guy and I'm pretty large. Um, but I digress. That probably be the only way to go there. But just realize, like you're downloading this might seem like a good idea of getting your loved one or even you a whole bunch of comic books to read all at once, uh, to you know um, be like to actually like instant collection, instant reading you can take with it wherever you go. Ultimate portable, uh, easy to store, uh, all at one fell swoop. But and like people say, like, well, I don't do the new issues, I do back issues. You're still taking money away from people who might need the money. Um, just realize there the ethical implications of actually doing this. Um, it's not a victimless crime. It is not that, and like it's just if it's in trade, just buy the trade paperback. You know, um, buy the omnibus, buy the masterworks, buy the hardcover, buy the epic collection or whatever when it might be happening there, or like you know, it's buy a copy, a reader copy, off of eBay for a couple bucks. It's you know better than keeping the pirates going, keeping that up and running, because you might not be like trying to cheat the system, um, by putting like the uh, buying new ones, or you might be ones who are actively and wholeheartedly cheating the system by getting new ones. Um, you don't go in there thinking that this is a positive kind of thing for you. My advice to you, like as an outsider looking in, piracy is not the way to go for getting your comic books. Um, I'm like trying to get my soapbox, and like have I got stuff off of these aspects before? Yes, I have. I've gotten like a couple off the legal ones, like um, the I wish I did a little more research before I did this. This is kind of off the cuff, kind of filming while I I can. Um, but like I'll put the legitimate ones down in the bottom, but got stuff off there. But I have like every so often had something that's not in print go through there. Uh, but I haven't done it since I was younger. I've wised up and like uh, have a conversation with a comic book creator about it and see how it touches their lives, or with a like it's you know it's much better just to like actually like go through legitimate means if you can, if you possibly can, and like search for that copy of Amazing Man #5 in the back issue bins, uh, wherever you want. Probably in the dollar bins, maybe in the 50-cent bins. You could have no find it really cheap if you really wanted to. So that's my talking about like if, from an outsider looking in on the world of piracy. don't do it. Um, it's it's more trouble than it's worth, and also, like, clear it up with your significant other, because they might be strident anti-piracy, or hey, they might be like Jack Sparrow in a Fantastic Four T-shirt. Who knows? Um, but yeah, check it with them and just make sure, like, they'd even want that. They might find that as repulsive and disgusting as some other people do. Um, yeah, so just keep that in mind when you're looking for cheap bargains online. Um, Free is the cheapest bargain you could possibly get, but and you might not uh, have the FBI coming to your door, or any letters or coming from like the publishers threatening legal action against you. Um, but it doesn't mean it's right, and doesn't mean you should do it. Um, so that's my soapbox for today. Just to advise you about that aspect of comic book collecting. If you are a fan of this information, please subscribe, hit like, because it helps with the algorithm and helps me let me know like what you think of it. And also, yeah, share it if you'd like to, and comment if you want to defend uh, comic book piracy, or if you have uh, you know an attitude about having, like, more reasons why you shouldn't be a comic book pirate. Um, you know, if I had a larger reach, I'm sure probably have some wiseacres putting like links of where you could actually pirate comic books in the comments, which I doubt that YouTube would actually allow on there. But we'll see what happens. But if you want to have a conversation, a respectful conversation with me and anybody else who watches this about this topic, put some comments down there, and we can start that discussion. Um, but until then, I will be back next week with another installment of this series. And until then, keep on collecting legally. I mean it.